Panthers Nation, what up, though? It's Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. And yes, it is Monday. It is Mock Draft Monday. We are here. It is draft season. We are just a few days away from the Senior Bowl. It's time to get into it, man, because it's a lot of things that we're going to have to do this offseason to really put things together. And with us hiring the coach, Dave Canales, and finally getting our general manager, Dan Morgan, we finally have a vision of what we can kind of anticipate. So in this mock draft today, I'm going to try to put my coaching cap on and try to put myself in the mindset of what I think Dave Canales and Dan Morgan would be thinking on draft day and try to shape this roster. But before we get too deep into it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'm going to do a ton of draft content, mock drafts very frequently, draft player profiles as well. I'm going to be talking about what I look for when I scout some of these players and what I do when I grade these players as well. Just a lot of different things to get deep into this coverage. I'm going to be talking about the Senior Bowl as well. So make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. That way you're always on top of these things when they do, because I'm trying to dip my toe, not even dip my toe, I'm diving head first, cannonball, whatever you want to do into this draft content, man, just to go with not just Panther stuff, but also just the draft in general. I'm super excited about it if you can't tell. So let's go ahead and get into this mock. So my mentality as I'm trying to put my hat on and my thinking cap on as Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, what do you want to do for this rebuild? So many times in this draft, we have one or two picks that may help us and may have some upside, but then nothing really happens. Meanwhile, you have guys like the Rams that find Puka Nacua so late in the draft, or you have the Texans that find Tank Dell that ends up being their best receiver almost in year one. And you just have teams that continue to find contributors early and often. It's about time that the Panthers do this. If we're ever going to be a serious organization, we have to start hitting on these day 2 and some day 3 picks to get lucky with. So I'm looking for guys in this draft that can contribute. I'm using PFF's mock draft simulator for this. I'm not going to walk you through every pick while I do it. I'm just going to show you my results and break down my thought process on each pick on a pick by pick basis. So obviously the Panthers did not have a first round draft pick because of the trade for Bryce Young. Obviously we gave that up. We will be back in the first round next year, but we do pick at the top of the second round, pick number 33, and with that pick in round 2, I decided to draft Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of the University of South Carolina. He was once thought to be 6'3", 220-something pounds, but come to find out after the Senior Bowl, he showed up at 6 feet and probably about 5/8 and 219 pounds. Yes, a good 2.5-inch difference from what we expected him to be. So he's a little bit closer to 6'1" than he is to 6 feet, but it's still definitely a step down from 6'3". Regardless, this guy likes to play big. And think about Dave Canales. He coached DK Metcalf and Mike Evans. Now, DK Metcalf is what I was thinking for Legette at 6'3", but it's a little bit harder. Thinking more A.J. Brown, I guess, now, but he still plays big like either one of those guys. The reason why I'm thinking this is because, one, Dave Canales, he has an ex-receiver like those in the both previous stops that he had. Let's go get one now. What does Mike Evans do? Clearly, he gets behind our secondary when we play them every year, but he can get deep. He's one of the best deep threats in the game. He's good at some 50-50 balls and going up and catching contested plays. That's exactly what Xavier Legette can do as well. He's been clocked as fast as 23 miles per hour on the GPS during the game action. So not no 40-yard dash lining up. No, in the game action, he's been clocked as fast as 23 miles per hour. That would have been one of the fastest track times in the NFL this year, according to GPS. So that just lets you know how fast a guy that big is moving. He's not really a quick accelerator off the line, but he's a builder. Similar to Mike Evans, he can get behind you later. He strides it out. He's that type of athlete. But he also has a 47.6 contested catch percentage this past year. So in terms of 50-50 balls, it doesn't get more 50-50 ball in terms of that when you throw it up to him when you're talking 47.6%. Now, there's still a lot of upside with this guy because he didn't play receiver until he got to college. He played quarterback all the way up until South Carolina. Many people are concerned about only having 1 year of production, and they think he may be the next Jonathan Mingo. I just think that there's a little bit more upside there because he hasn't been playing receiver that long. He also has better ball skills, in my opinion, and I just think he's better with the ball in his hands. Not only is that guy that can get deep like Mike Evans, he can catch pop passes, he can do end arounds, you can line him up in the slot, you can line him up on the outside. I really like Xavier Legette's game. I think the best football for him is in front of him. Now, my mindset as well here is that Mike Evans, T. Higgins would be nice, but they're going to be expensive, and they probably want to either stay with the team that they're on or go to a contender. Maybe we can lure T. Higgins here. Who knows? But I think that a more realistic option for us would be like a Hollywood Brown or a Calvin Ridley, who's going to be $15, $16, $17 million per year. And so you put them at Z and let Xavier Legette play that X receiver. and we're good right there to go. So round number 3, pick number 65, I went with none other than center Zach Frazier from the University of West Virginia. Zach Frazier is the best center in this draft. I'm really shocked that he was there on round 3. Granted, this is just an algorithm and a simulator on PFF, but he was there in round 3. We should run to the podium and turn in that card. He'll be a day 1 starter for us, and I know we have Bradley Bozeman, but Bradley Bozeman can also play guard. Not his ideal position, but he's played quality football for the Ravens playing guard, and we definitely need some depth and competition on that interior. And Zach Frazier gives us the guy for the future that we know can be here for here on out. I mean, he's given up 0 sacks and only 7 pressures on 359 pass block reps his senior year. So, like I said, you can kick Bozeman to left guard or right guard because Corbett, he tore that ACL again. We can't really bank on a lot of our guards being here next year. So let's operate with the mentality of shoring up this interior. We need strong guys that can anchor in the middle and pass protection, that are sound and smart, that can come in, like I said, they contribute from day 1 and keep that pocket. What was the issue with Bryce? Not having that interior set up where he can actually step up. If guard pressure's in your face, it's hard for a shorter quarterback to throw. So we need to shore up the guards. He's 6'3", 310 pounds, great size there, and is good, strong in the pass blocking game. That's what we need a heavy emphasis on this year. I love Zach Frazier, and to get the best center in the draft in round 3 sounds like a steal to me. So it was a no-brainer to turn this pick in. Round 4, number pick 101, I went with none other than guard Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. Cooper Beebe is 6'4", 330. He is a mauler, the true definition of a mauler. I do expect Brady Christensen to return, but we need depth and we need competition. Beebe can definitely push to start from day 1 as well. He's going to be an instant asset in the running game just because, like I said, he's a mauler. He looks to put people on the ground, whether it's pass pro or run blocking. Like I said, he'll be an immediate asset. And he's also strong enough to be able to anchor, like I said, in that pass protection game. And as he's going to need a little bit better fine-tuning in terms of his lateral agility and moving side to side, because sometimes quicker pass rushers on the interior can give him a little bit of trouble, squeezing by him in certain gaps. But when he's in the front of these guys, he's going to get hands-on. He's going to try to put them on the ground. And like I said, he's strong enough to be able to anchor and not get bull rushed into the quarterback's lap, giving Bryce a pocket to step up into. And a lot of people complain about Bryce not being able to step up in the pocket or not doing that. But when you have guards that can anchor and don't get pushed backwards too far, you can really set that interior, set a good little wall. And if people come around the edge, Bryce can step up in the pocket and maneuver and run, and we can make it do what it do. I'm going to think that leaving Icky at left tackle, that's what I'm going to have to do. I mean, BB has played some left tackle before, but I don't see him doing that in the league. But we're going to have to leave Icky at left tackle with this. But adding a guy like BB or putting Bradley Bozeman at left guard instead, I think we'll be better off doing that, and just Icky's going to have to get right. Unfortunately, we're going to have to roll with Icky. Maybe we can bring in some free agent competition for Icky to push him there. But I think that shoring up the interior in the draft is the best way, because you can get 2 impact guys like Zach Frazier and Cooper Beebe in back-to-back rounds. This is a steal. I mean, these first 3 picks that I did, I was like head over heels happy that these guys were available. But I love Cooper Beebe's game. Like I said, you're putting guys as Bradley Bozeman is 6'5", Cooper Beebe is 6'4", and Zach Frazier is 6'3". You got the Great Wall of China in front of Bryce. Protect the investment with Bryce Young. The next pick was round 5, pick number 168. I went with cornerback Cam Hart from the University of Notre Dame. Now, Cam Hart is 6'2", 200 pounds, and he has length and cover skills that pretty much you need for the modern NFL, with these receivers getting taller and taller. This guy has long arms and great footwork and ability to turn and run with anybody. I mean, this guy has some of the best hips I've seen in this draft, and he's also quick out of his break. So he's good at off coverage, good in press man with bail technique as well, can play in a variety of systems. I think he'll be good in a zone system. So if we keep Ejiro Evero, he will be great in that little off, playing a little bit softer, playing a little bit off. But also, you bring him in, he's insurance for J.C. Horn being healthy or Dante Jackson being healthy. And also, you can let C.J. Henderson walk in free agency and not have to worry about it, because you get a corner that has a similar measurables as C.J. Henderson, but also has a little bit better ball skills, has quicker out of his breaks, more athletic, and I think is more competitive. I also think that when they're all on the field, this allows J.C. Horn to roam around playing that nickel. He can shadow receivers a little bit more instead of having to stay to one side of the field, and we can really match up how we want to. That way, we don't have to put guys like Dante Jackson in unfavorable matchups going against certain receivers. We can really move around in certain chess pieces. I like Cam Hart to be able to contribute early on in his career just because of his instincts with that wide receiver background. He's great at route recognition. He triggers fast out of his breaks in terms of out routes. And like I said, flipping those hips. Not too many people can do it better in this draft than him. I'm really excited about this guy, Cam Hart, and I was good to get him in round 5. So we'll see what happens with him, but I really like Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. Round 6, pick number 180, I went with linebacker Cedric Gray out of the University of North Carolina. Cedric Gray is a fast-flowing linebacker, a lot of speed that can rush the passer. He gets his athleticism to cover out of the backfield. It'll allow Louisville here to play a little bit more free. He can roam around a little bit more. I know with Shaq Thompson being out, Frankie Louisville had to play a lot more off ball. He didn't really get as many snaps on the edge on certain passing plays and passing downs, but Cedric Gray gives you another guy that can be in coverage while Frankie Louisville lines up on the edge or blitzes to do what he do, but he can also blitz himself because of the speed and athleticism to be able to cover guys out of the backfield. Now, he does need to work on his tackling. He missed a ton of tackles. He missed over 20 tackles this year, his senior year, but this guy's motor is so high, he's going to be around the football a lot. Now, he does need to work on a little bit more of his diagnosis and play recognition, but I think coaching and being around some vets like Shaq Thompson or Frankie Louisville and getting in that film room, he'll be able to read his keys a little bit better, be coached up more to be able to react faster to the plays, and he doesn't get pushed around by offensive linemen because sometimes he's late to get to his spots, and so offensive linemen can kind of move him off his spot because he didn't get there in time or he gets out of position. But I think being in a rotation with some vet guys like that will allow him to be a situational guy that can come in on third down when they need him to rush maybe from linebacker or cover some backs out of the backfield. I think that spot role to be able to contribute as a 6th rounder, Cedric Gray is a great guy that I think could help this defense out. And the last pick number 222 in round 7, I went with Bryson Nesbitt, tight end out of the University of North Carolina. This guy is 6'5", 235 pounds. He is listed as a wide receiver on PFF. I'm not sure why. He's definitely built like a wide receiver and kind of plays a little bit like one. He can stretch the field, has a great catch radius. If you're a North Carolina fan, I know a lot of you guys watching this you're probably familiar with his game. He was a really dependable guy for Drake May, but once Tez Walker came in, his targets kind of dropped down a little bit, and there was a little bit more of targets to go. I mean, there's only one football to go around, so there's only a certain amount of targets available for everybody, but I still think this guy has an upside to be a 700, 800-yard tight end in the league just because he can run down the seam. He's a vertical threat. I really like this guy because he can bring a yak element as well, but you want big body guys that can run down the middle of the field that can make Bryce right even when he's wrong. Bryce doesn't have to be perfect to connect with a guy like this when he's 6'5" with great length and can catch outside of his body frame. You know what I'm saying? So this is the type of guy that can stretch the field as well. Another thing that can stretch the field along with Xavier Legette, a good weapon that way. It can really stretch the defense. He's going to split out. He's rarely tight end on lined up in line or whatever where like attached to a tackle. Typically, he's in that slot. Typically, he's on the outside as well. If you match him up against a safety or a linebacker, he's going to do a good job of winning there. Not really precise on the route running, but his size and his speed puts a lot of pressure on the defense down the middle of the field. I think this is a guy that can really contribute from the jump as well because at round 7, he's one of the most underrated guys in this draft. I think people really haven't caught up to him yet. I think during the process, he'll test well. He'll probably move up a little bit more, but he's definitely a top 5 tight end in this draft in my books, and to get him in round 7 is a steal. I think is great value. So as you can see, overall, PFF gave me a B-. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like all my picks, but looking at the film, I actually dove into the film on all these guys after this draft happened, and I really, really like what I'm seeing on some of these guys as they fit into what we want to do as the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, as with Dave Canales, I try to get some guys for his system wide receiver wise, but also shore up that offensive line like we know we need to, but also not ignore the defense and get a good cover guy like Cam Hart in the middle of the draft and on day 3. I really love what I did on day 3, to be honest, if I do say so myself. But this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to try to find early contributors in the draft in later rounds, find some gems or some diamonds, whatever you want to call them, in the rough that can help us out right away. They're cheap on rookie contracts. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them. And look, that's something we haven't really done as Panthers over the years. Whether it's Marty Herney, Scott Fitterer, Dave Gettleman, we haven't really found late round gems like some of these other teams do in the evaluation process. It's about time we do that, and I think I got a whole draft full of these type of guys. So you guys let me know down below in the comments, what would you grade my draft? PFF gave me a B-. Give me your grade for my draft. Let me know what you hate. Let me know what you love. I know y'all got some thoughts down below, but without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan signing off. I'll see you next time. Peace.